everyone, this is People in Power, Corporations on Trial. I'm Summer El-Shahat. On today's programme, in search of muddy justice.
Orang satu yang meninggal bapak saya, mak ini mikir rumahnya kena lumpur sakit meninggal.
For more than 3 years, mud has been gushing from the ground in Sidoarjo on the Indonesian island of Java. The eruption started in May 2006, and 12 communities have been engulfed and more than 40,000 people driven from their homes. The Indonesian government and local courts have called it a natural disaster. However, many scientists disagree. They believe that the real culprit was an energy company, Lapindo Brantas, which was drilling for gas in the area. So who's right? As Juliana Ruhfus reports in the last of her films about corporations on trial, the question is complicated by the fact that Lapindo is partially owned by Indonesia's richest tycoon, who also happens to be the country's welfare minister.
Underneath this mud, near the town of Porong in East Java, 12 villages lie buried.
Ini sekolah TK. Sekolah TK.
Kindergarten here.
Dari posisinya ke barat ini jalan, Mak. Still straight. Dari sini sekitar 7 meter ini jalan umum.
So we're walking along the old road.
Yes.
Was this a big mosque before?
Ini masjid besar ini.
Besar, lantai 2.
It's very big. Berapa tinggi sampai ke bawah?
Ketinggian dari bawah itu sampai itu 10 meter itu.
It was here on May 29, 2006, that a huge geyser of mud suddenly erupted from the earth. It disgorged a torrent of sludge which has covered 7 square kilometers of land and rendered 40,000 people homeless. It has been named Volcano Lusi, and it is still active. Every day it pumps out enough mud to fill 50 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Lusi's eruption set off a whirlpool of controversy that has sucked in lawyers, scientists and government ministers. Just 150 meters away from the volcano, an Indonesian mining company called Lapindo Brantas was drilling for gas. According to many experts, this leads to only one conclusion.
There's a substantial amount of information that just cannot be refuted that show that drilling was the cause of the Lusi mud volcano.
But others connected to Lapindo Brantas are adamant there was another cause. They blame an earthquake that happened 2 days earlier and 260 kilometers away in central Java.
The experts which have registered Jakarta all over the world has already said that it is not because of the Lapindo case drill, but because of the earthquakes.
Abu Rizal Bakri's family's company is the majority shareholder in Lapindo Brantas. He is also a minister in the Indonesian government. For those trying to win compensation for Lusi's victims, this adds a political dimension to the affair which can't be ignored. Lawyer Taufik Basari is one of them. For 3 years he has been suing Lapindo and the Indonesian government on behalf of an NGO, the Indonesian Legal Aid Foundation. And Taufik is clear about his ultimate goal.
We want to urge the Lapindo to have a full responsibility to cover all the loss. On the other hand, we want to pressure the government to stand behind the victims, not the company.
Taufik takes us to see a village that was flooded before dams were built to contain the mud flow. This once thriving community is now a ghost town.
Berapa tinggi ya? Ditunjukin. Ada yang di Pasar Porong? Atau di mana? Disewain? Oh ya. Yeah. Oh, there, over there.
In those little shacks across
Yes.
the road that we saw earlier. So the people who live in those shacks live there looking at the nice houses that they used to live in.
Yes, that's right.
Within days of Lusi's emergence, the finger of blame was being pointed at Lapindo's drilling operation. After public protests, the government commissioned a team of experts to investigate. In July 2006, they cited drilling as the probable trigger for the eruption. In the following months, Indonesia's President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono issued 2 decrees. He ordered Lapindo to pay for dealing with the mud flow and to buy from the victims the land and property beneath it. This was despite the fact that Lapindo's responsibility had yet to be established in court. Joko Kermanto, the Minister of Public Works, was put in charge of overseeing the process.
But how can the President ask a private company to pay if it is not clear whether or not this company, in this case Lapindo, was responsible for the mud flow?
Because at the time, nobody knows. Nobody knows who is responsible. Even Lapindo at the time, Lapindo was still thinking, maybe I'm wrong, maybe not. So everybody...
But if in doubt, people normally don't pay. It's very unusual that if the situation is unclear that people pay.
Yeah, it is unusual, but it happened here. I don't know.
And so, without admitting liability, Lapindo did start to pay up. The company is keen to show us the new village it has been building for some of Lusi's homeless.
And how many houses are there? How many families live here?
There have been 300 received the key for the house, but there will be 10,000 household will reside this area.
10,000 families?
10,000 family.
Are you happy here?
Senang Bu di sini?
Senang lah, udah dapat ganti rumah.
Very happy. Very happy.
On the face of it, the project is impressive, although there have been criticisms that building is proceeding too slowly. But it begs the question, why has Lapindo gone to such lengths when it consistently denies any responsibility for Lusi? Sunayo hints at a possible reason.
Firstly, I believe that this is a natural disaster. I believe that Lapindo has no deal with this, but I think a political impact of this phenomena is huge.
What you mean is that the President worries that he's losing votes if the people aren't compensated?
Oh, I'm not really saying that, but I guess that.
Others believe that the presidential decrees were in fact a way of letting Lapindo off the hook. If ever found liable in court, the company would face a far higher payout. Taufik takes us to see the victims who aren't living in Lapindo's model village. The dike around the mud flow has now become Indonesia's latest tourist attraction.
Good morning. This is the big tragedy in Indonesia. The center is in Sidoarjo. 12 villages down, fire and water, full muddy. Our house down, 12 villages. Please come to our house down.
So we're paying to get into onto the dam?
Yes. It's the initiative from the local people, because they are poor, they have no job because of the mud flow, so they have to find anything for job and for continuing their life.
Muslima used to sell snacks from her home before it was drowned in mud. She now offers tourists motorbike rides around the disaster area. This tower is the closest she can get to where she once lived.
So how many people were living in your house?
7 orang. Satu yang meninggal bapak saya. Ya kena ini mikir rumahnya kena lumpur sakit meninggal.
Other locals, 10,000 of them, took refuge in this market that was being built in Porong. 3 years after Lusi erupted, a quarter of them still remain. The deal in the presidential decree was for Lapindo to pay 20% up front for the victim's property and the rest within 2 years. Yet that deadline passed in December 2008, and many have not been paid the money still outstanding.
If you could get a meeting with the people from Lapindo, what would you say to them?
Ya, saya ingin segera dikasih 80, yang tinggal 80% itu saya ingin dikasih, ingin saya jadikan, ingin bangun rumah saya.
Lapindo blames the delay in payments on the worldwide recession, which has hit the company badly. Yet Taufik's case is about more than just compensation for property.
What do you want the compensation to include?
We also urge the government to create the policy to urge or to command the Lapindo Berantas to compensate not only the property but also their rights, their human rights, education, social, economical, and health and etc.
But in 2007, the Jakarta District Court judged that both Lapindo and the government were doing enough for Lusi's dispossessed and ruled against Taufik's case. He immediately appealed the verdict, pushing for a decision-making process which involved the victims rather than presidential decrees made behind closed doors. What came next was the legal battle over the scientific question at the heart of the issue. Was Lusi triggered by an earthquake, or is it a man-made disaster? 6 months after the eruption, the Indonesian government set up the Mudflow Mitigation Agency to work with Lapindo on dealing with the disaster. Sofyan Hadi, the deputy head of operations, takes us as close to Lusi's epicenter as one can get. He points out that the volcano lies on a fault line running through this geologically unstable region.
Earthfault starts from small hill over there. If you make a line from small hill going here and going to the north, we have the same line with another mud volcano.
In the past, Sofyan has appeared in court as an expert witness supporting the theory that an earthquake 2 days earlier in Yogyakarta, 260 kilometers away, was the sole trigger for the mudflow. Yet today, he seems to be hedging his bets.
In my mind, it's not possible to have the power of drilling system can produce the mud like this. But maybe combined between potential of natural activity in here combined with drilling system.
Dodi Ermawan, a geologist and safety engineer on site, is keen to talk to us. But as he works side by side with Lapindo, he is wary when we ask him what he thinks caused the mudflow.
You put me on the corner, pal. Okay, maybe Mr. Sofyan is my colleague. Didn't say that, you know. He believes that this is because Jogja earthquake. You don't know my... You want me my opinion? No. Oh, Mamma Mia. I don't believe so. It's according to my opinion, it was unhuman error of drilling company. That's it.
When Lapindo invite us around their gasworks in Sidoarjo, their employees beg to differ.
So the tectonic plate can generate earthquake, can generate mud volcano, can generate something else. Actually, Lapindo also a victim.
Yes.
Lapindo is also a victim from the mud volcano.
In what sense?
Yeah, because our facility is also flooded by the mud, the drilling rig.
Yeah.
As the world's fastest growing mud volcano, Lusi has drawn the attention of scientists from across the world. Professor Richard Davis in the UK believes that the earthquake theory goes against all accepted knowledge of how mud volcanoes are triggered.
What we've done is to team up with earthquake specialists, the best people in the world, to look at the earthquake mechanism, and they are adamant this just could not have triggered Lusi. I mean, I can't overemphasize that point. The earthquake was too small and too far away.
In the country.
This group of Indonesian engineers call themselves the Drilling Club. They came together to find a solution to the mudflow and have been collaborating with Richard Davis on his investigation.
The magnitude of the quake, the location was like a truck passing by the roadside, he said. The well could have been blowing out a long time ago because there are thousands of trucks passing by every day through that road.
The Drilling Club and Richard Davis agree that Lapindo's drill punctured a pressurized layer of water nearly 3 kilometers down in the earth.
One of the rock formations they drilled through was mud. They probably drilled into a limestone which had water in it. So basically what's happening is the water's coming from depth, it's coming up this well, it's mixing with this mud and bringing it to the surface.
At Lapindo's headquarters in Jakarta, there's an exhibition highlighting the company's take on what created the volcano. Their spokeswoman is keen to emphasize that the mud didn't actually erupt from their well.
This is our drilling location and this is the mud eruption, right? So As what people thought, actually the mud eruption comes out from our drilling well, but this is totally not. This is wrong, yeah.
For the drilling club, though, this is to be expected.
If the formation crack here, you never know where it will come out, but it will come out not far away from the well. It will not be able to come up here because there's a casing. It will not come up between the casing and the formation. It was well cemented when the casing was in place. It will come up somewhere when the part is easier.
Both Davis and the drilling club say that Lapindo didn't put steel casing deep enough into its well to protect it from pressure below, and that extra precautions should have been taken in such a geologically unstable area.
The area was ready to form a mud volcano. The conditions were right for it to happen, but the well, the drill hole, provided the plumbing system for it to get going.
Indeed, the same accusation has been made by one of Lapindo's own partners in the drilling project. In a letter leaked to the press in late 2006, Medco Energy said that at a technical meeting before the disaster, it reminded Lapindo of the need to set casing deeper into the well. Lapindo refuted the claim.
Yeah, actually, at the end of the meeting, there's no word at all saying that we have to stop and we have to do something else.
But why did Medco write this letter to you saying you should be using casing?
Again, we are talking about the politics, and then maybe they wanna escape from the responsibility. Maybe.
Since that interview, we've managed to get hold of 2 confidential reports which Medco commissioned from some of the world's top drilling experts. They're damning of Lapindo's handling of the drill site and describe it as both reckless and incompetent. One of the reports concludes that the company's errors can be described as grossly negligent and/or criminally endangering the lives of the crew and surrounding residents.
When we contacted Lapindo once more, they reiterated that recent court judgments had confirmed they were not at fault. Indeed, the technical and scientific differences about what caused Lusi have dogged not only Taufik Basari's case, but also one being brought by the police against Lapindo for criminal negligence. So far, the Attorney General's office has returned the case file to the police 4 times, saying scientific opinion is too divided to sustain a prosecution.
By constantly saying that expert opinion is divided, is the legal system in Indonesia avoiding a decision?
Makanya bertambah kehati-hatian kita, jangan sampai kelimpahan kepada berkas ini menjadi loss lagi. Kalau loss dia perdata, loss pidana, mau apa lagi yang dikerjakan?
Do you think you can manage the case in a way that the expert opinion will be conclusive?
Nggak bisa. Cuman ya harus pihak ketiga ya, yang seminar-seminar atau diskusi yang bisa menyatukan ini.
Something like this did happen at a conference about Lusi held in Cape Town in December 2008. A straw poll was taken where the majority of the 74 international experts present voted that drilling was responsible for the volcano. Only 3 thought it was solely the earthquake.
Cape Town, we see it as a conference by Society of Geologists, which is neutral, and is attended by all best geologists internationally. To us, it's like the final decision, final say on it.
Yet in 2008, Taufik Basari's case was rejected by the appeal court. The judges upheld the verdict that enough was being done for the victims and also ruled, in the face of most scientific opinion, that the volcano wasn't Lapindo's fault. Taufik decided to take the case to the highest level, Indonesia's Supreme Court.
I think our government is afraid to the Lapindo because one of the supporters of this regime is Bakri, who is in the cabinet.
Taufik is talking about Abu Rizal Bakri, head of the Bakri family, which co-owns Lapindo Brantas, as well as numerous other businesses. In 2007, the Bakri Group topped Indonesia's rich list with a net worth of $5.4 billion. Since then, the global recession has hit them heavily. But as coordinating minister for social welfare, Abu Rizal Bakri remains an important political player.
We have to separate president and the owner of the Lapindo Brantas. If not, any policy made by the government will support Lapindo, not support the victims.
Mr. Bakri, who declined to be interviewed by us, has emphasized in public statements that he has not engaged in business since he became a minister. Yet for Taufik and others, his links to Lapindo and his role as one of the ministers meant to deal with disasters like Lusi present a potential conflict of interest.
According to the experts, it is truly a natural disaster, nothing to do with a human or the contractors.
Such statements again beg the question.
But why do you think the president ordered you to pay compensation money if officially you're not seen as responsible for the mud eruption?
It's part of our concern as a good neighbor, as good people in Indonesia.
What's the total figure of the compensation money that you agreed to pay or were ordered to pay?
Yes, up to the present, the company already spent about 5.6 trillion rup, or equal to 560 million US dollar.
560 million US dollars?
Yes.
And you pay that as a humanitarian gesture only?
Yeah, yes.
Yet the $560 million which Lapindo says it has paid out so far is small change compared to the $3.5 billion in damage and loss which Indonesia's National Audit Office calculated Lusi has cost. Lapindo continued to have success in the courts. In May 2009, Taufik and the Indonesia Legal Aid Foundation hear more bad news from the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Oh, it's new actually.
Their second appeal has been rejected.
When did you first find out about it?
Yeah, just today.
Now?
But I think it is not the end of the advocacy, because from many other aspects we can show more evidences, more fact that can be used for any other way, legal action, campaign, political movement and anything. So still there are many ways.
Do you ever think about giving up?
No, never.
In the meantime, the human and economic costs of volcano Lusi continue to grow. The Mud Flow Mitigation Agency has resorted to pumping the mud into the nearby Porong River, creating this new mud island in its delta and, according to local fishermen, ruining their catch. More severely, parts of the area have been rapidly subsiding.
The worst-case scenario is that this mud volcano carries on for decades and that rivers start to be diverted, and that actually it has a greater impact on the environment than perhaps we can envisage at this point.
What does seem clear is that a thorough and independent investigation by the Indonesian government into the causes of Lusi and its impact is now absolutely vital. Until one is carried out, unanswered questions will remain, and for the victims of volcano Lusi, it will continue to be a case of muddy justice.
And that's it for this edition of People and Power, and indeed for our series Corporations on Trial. If you'd like to comment on this report or any other matter, we'd love to hear from you on aljazeera.net/English. Until next time, bye-bye.